So one of the difficult decisions you had to make when the war began is to enact martial law. So when you won the presidency, you were the warrior for freedom. In fact, this war is for freedom, for freedom of the individual, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom. But a lot of freedoms had to be curtailed, sacrificed in this fight because there's so much focus on the war. Do you see the tension? Do you feel the tension of that, the sacrifice that had to be made in democracy, in freedom, in fighting this war?
In any case, this war is for our freedom. Generally speaking, to be honest, when you understand over time, when the war passes, you understand that your main values are at home. This is your home, your children, your love. God willing, parents are alive. And if not alive, then their memory visiting their grave. Choosing how to work, how much, preferably choosing where to work. All this is freedom. Freedoms are not just a desire, they are an opportunity. In any case, you are right because war is a limitation of opportunities. In any case, you fight for these opportunities. Your parents and God gave you life, right? You fight for your life. But we need to understand that first there is a war, and then martial law is introduced. Martial law is not introduced because someone wanted to. You say, this is not Pinochet, and so on. This is a completely different story. An aggressor came, and according to your legislation, if the border is violated, if there is armed aggression, you have all this written down, long ago written out in legislation. You introduce martial law, and the introduction of martial law everywhere at all times means, in any case, a restriction of opportunities. If opportunities are limited, rights and freedoms are restricted, therefore the war itself restricts rights and freedoms. Yes, and you can't do anything about it. We try, honestly, to balance as much as possible. I believe that the business sector works despite the difficulties of the war, and we do everything somewhere, there somewhere to reduce some load. Unfortunately, we cannot reduce taxes. On the contrary, a military tax is used for war. You need to take money somewhere. This, by the way, is about the fact that the US gave us a lot, and Europe too. But compared to how much we needed for the war, this is not all. As for military salaries, you know that we could not pay the salaries of a million-strong army. We could not pay it using the money from our partners. These are all expenses. This is all the money that the country and people have accumulated. You can't do anything. I really want to reduce taxes. I will tell you frankly, I really want to. Well, I think that the whole new tax system, new deregulation, new steps, new reforms, all this will be after the war. Although there is something to brag about, this is proof. And this is a document, because if you want to get a candidacy for European Union, you must implement the appropriate number of reforms. We do everything. During the war, we voted for many reforms, including anti-corruption, banking reforms, land reforms, major reforms. We started a large privatization, and the war did not stop us. Yes, it slowed down, but we went through a lot.
When do you think you will hold elections? Because for people who don't know, part of the martial law, elections were suspended and they were delayed and delayed and delayed. And I think the next sort of plan is in February of 2025. But when do you think there will be presidential elections in Ukraine?
Elections were postponed once. They were not delayed, to be clear. Elections did not take place in 2024. That year, first of all, we need to understand the Constitution. They were scheduled to be held in the spring of 2024. Due to martial law, under the Constitution, you cannot do this. These are the presidential elections. The parliamentary elections did not take place in the fall of 2024, according to the Constitution. Yes, there are security things. There is the Constitution, but there are security things. That is, everyone in Ukraine understands that this cannot be done until the war is over or legislation needs to be changed. I believe that elections will take place immediately after the end of martial law. This is according to the law. Or members of the parliament need to get together and change legislation, which will be very difficult to do because society is against it. Why is society against it? It is understandable why. Because we want elections that we want to trust. 8.5 million people went abroad. The infrastructure needs to be created for these millions of people to vote. Millions of people in the occupied territories. I'm not even talking about the occupation of 2014. I'm talking about the occupation right now. What to do with these people? This is a difficult question. And one of the most unfair ones is how to vote without having 1 million soldiers. That is, it is impossible. We need to think about how to change the system if the elections are held in times of war, change the legislation, which should include changes to the voting system. To think about online voting. Everyone is afraid because of certain attacks, like cyber attacks, and so on. But we need to think about it. I really think that it's possible that we can end the war in 2025.
In January.
Oh,
We've already agreed on it.
I would very much like to. I would very much like to.
After the war?
And immediately. Yes, immediately. In the year of the end of the war. It's a fact. Why? Because when martial law ends, you can immediately vote in parliament to hold elections. And then everyone will vote. Because there are no restrictive measures. And after they vote, I think elections can be held in 90 days, something like that. Yes. And this means that immediately after the end of the war, elections may take place in 90 days.
Are you running for re-election?
Even I don't know, really. I don't know. It is a very difficult question. It depends on how this war will finish. It depends on what people will want. Mostly, it depends on people. First of all, and of course, my family. We had no time to speak about it with my family, and of course, didn't have a chance because we don't think about it now. I mean, it's something, There are a lot of, not a lot of, but enough voices in Ukraine from politicians, opposition, and etc. about this, I guess. But we don't think really seriously, didn't think seriously with my family about it. So this is war. I mean, how to think about what will be after? It's very difficult, really very difficult.
If we look at the field of candidates, maybe you can give your opinion about the set of ideas you see out there, including your own, about the future of Ukraine. As I understand, the candidates include Poroshenko, Zaluzhny, Arestovich, Budanov, Klitschko, and many others. This is the internet speaking to me. What do you think of the space of ideas that these candidates represent?
I think it can be, and there can be even a bigger number of candidates. Yeah, I don't really know what will be. They have rights to participate if they want to. Yes, if they really want to and can, they can go and do what they want, honestly. Most important is what are they doing now? I think that all these people are the famous Ukrainian people, and it's important for them to do everything they can today, not begin any election campaign. I think this what can divide our people to have the elections, during the war. I mean, this make steps, speak about elections a lot, make a big mess about it. I think this is not right. That's why I'm not agreeing with some of these people. But they can, and I think that they can, and maybe some of them will. And it's okay. It's normal. It's very normal. Our system differs from the system in the United States. You have two parties, and the parties decide who will be the leader. And in Ukraine, everybody can participate. Let them.
You think you're going to win the debate? You versus Zelenskyy, Poroshenko, or Arestovich, and you decide to run. Do you think you're going to win the debate? Or you're again focused on the war, and everybody should be
I'm
focused.
really focusing on the war, and
I understand.
I think the most difficult debate is what will be brought to the table, and we spoke about it. It will be during the war. How to finish the war. I think that is my goal, because it will be one of my most complicated debates. And for any president who is in a war, of course, but I think this is my goal, to win those debates. And the other things are not for today.